Hey everybody, it's Lindsay and I'm here today with the Let's Make a Card video, but today we're going to do a little something different. We're going to make an Easel card. Now this is for the blog hop that is going on over at DigiStamps for Joy. If you want to find out more information about that, you can head over to my blog. All the information and links are there if you want to go check that out. But right now I'm going to show you how I made my card today. So I started off with the Pondering Fairy digital stamp, and I just printed this off with my laser printer onto white cardstock. I went ahead and taped this panel down to a piece of hardboard just for a nice coloring surface, and then I'm using my alcohol markers just to color this in. Skin tones, navy blues, peaches, and yellows for the hair, and brown for the trunk or the limb of the tree that she's sitting on. Now for the wings, I did something a little bit different. I tried something different here. I first started out with a buttercream and a very light white almost, and I'm bringing in a light peach. Now you'll notice I don't spend any time giving this time to dry. I wanted all of this to sort of bleed together. So I was really looking for that bleeding effect that I normally try and avoid. I was really trying to achieve that here. I wanted all these colors to start bleeding together. I knew I was going to trim this out, so I didn't worry about going outside the lines or anything. But once I got in that light pink, I'm coming in with a darker pink just right on those lines that are already on the digital stamp. And then I'm going to come back in with my darkest, it's almost a yellow, but it's called buttercream. And then I'm coming back in with my lighter cream color, and I'm blending this all out. And again, it looks like it's bleeding together because it is. That was the look I was going for, just for a more authentic look. If you have ever looked at butterfly wings, they're not perfect shapes. They all the colors sort of blend together, and that's what I was going for. Now for the little dots on the wings, I went ahead and brought back in the navy because I'm sticking with the colors that I used on the dress for a more cohesive look. And then also that little line on the top of each of the wings, I'm going to go ahead and color that in navy as well. And one last little touch up on her little cheek, I added a little blush with some light peaches. One of the stipulations for the blog hop was to add either glitter or sequins to your card. I added both. So for my glitter, I'm going to color in these wings with some clear Wink of Stella glitter brush pen. And then I went ahead and flipped on my light. It was getting dark outside, so my lighting is going to change. I'm sorry about that. But you can see just how much glitter I put on these wings for some really nice shine. Now I wanted this to be completely cut out. I didn't want a white border or anything around my stamp, so I am fussy cutting this images with some really fine detailed scissors here. I've had these scissors literally for years, but I will link up a pair that are very similar to them over on my blog if you want to check those out. So I'm just going to cut around this, and you'll notice when I do fussy cutting, I'm not really turning my scissors a whole lot. I am moving the paper. And I did speed this up. I don't cut this fast, but take your time and just move your paper, not your scissors. Now to give this cutout image a nice finished look, I went ahead and brought in a distress marker and covered all the cut edges with this. This just covers up that white and gives it a finished look. And I prefer to use the distress marker rather than my alcohol markers or Sharpie. My Sharpies and alcohol markers tend to bleed into my coloring. This stays right at the edges, right where I've put it. Now for the Easel card, I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 11-inch white cardstock. Now I'm going to go ahead and put a score mark using my cutting, my trimmer. It has a little guide that I can go ahead and use as a scoring board. I put one at 5 1/2 and also 2 3/4, just with my bone folder and my trimmer putting those in. Now you can see I've got 2 nice little score marks there, and I can go ahead and use my bone folder to make these creases nice and sharp. I'm going to go ahead and fold it down as I would with any other top folding card, and then I'm going to bring this other piece that I have went ahead and put a crease in, and I'm going to fold it down as well, so this will make a nice easel base. And you'll have to forgive my pronunciation for the word. I know I pronounce it strange. My husband tells me all the time, but I can't help it. So I went ahead and I made that card base, and now it's ready to go. I can start layering up all my other elements to make this card really fun. So I've got 2 pieces of white cardstock that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and also 4 pieces of vellum that are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I am using this Stitch Cloud border die. It is from the Mama Elephant Landscape Trio dies, and I'm just going to start cutting some clouds here. This is going to add quite a few layers on my card, but since it's vellum, they're not heavy layers, and it really works out. This card doesn't end up bulky at all. So I went ahead and put that on top of that vellum, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, and I'm just cutting off the topmost portion of this panel right here. And this is going to be my tallest panel. However, I want to go ahead, because I want my fairy up a little higher, I need some white behind this so the glue doesn't show through the vellum. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a white piece for behind this vellum, but it's going to be a little bit shorter, and it's just going to add a little bit more interest. So I'll go ahead and lay this out just like I want it on my card, and then I also have a piece of white cardstock that I will go ahead, and it is behind this vellum piece already, and I'm bringing in that cloud border die, and I'm going to place it right where I want it to cut, and then I've got a piece of washi tape, and I can just push that down, hold it in place, and now I'm going to be able to cut this white piece of cardstock and know that it's going to be exactly where I want it to end up on my card. And that's just what I'm going to continue to do with all of my layers. I'm going to lay them out, put the piece I'm cutting over, now I'm putting it over top because it is a vellum piece and I can see through, and then I can lay that die on top of it, put it in my die cutting machine, and then cut it, and there's no guesswork involved. I know it's going to end up right where I want it to on my card. I did the same thing with the white piece here. I just cut that bit out, and I'll run this through, and this is my last piece that will be on the front of the card. Now for the inside, you need something to hold up that card whenever you stand it up. So I'm going to use more clouds. I went ahead and measured, and I want my card to be about 2.5. It's going to show about 2.5 inches of the inside of the card. So I measured out 2.5 inches on my piece of vellum. I went ahead and placed my die down, and then I can run this through. Again, this just cuts out the guesswork. I know it's going to be right where I want it on the inside of my card to hold up that front panel for me. I also did the same thing here with my white panel. I want this just a little bit shorter, not much, from that vellum, so I laid that right on top of there. I can place my die and then run this through, and again, cuts out my guesswork. So now I can have all my pieces cut, and I can start putting this together. So I went ahead and put some double-sided adhesive on that very front panel, just the bottom portion. So right under that score mark, no higher than that, because I don't want my clouds to be attached to that top piece. So I'll put first my white cloud border there. This is my one that is going to go behind the vellum. And now I'm just going to speed this up a little bit because it gets a little tedious from here on out. You're doing the same steps. I put some more double-sided adhesive down, and I will put my tallest piece, which is my vellum piece, right down on top of that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some double-sided adhesive here, and I went ahead, and you can see my very bottom piece, that's my white piece. I'm going no higher than that with my adhesive because my next piece is vellum. If I go up anymore, it's going to show through. So you really need to just make sure that your adhesive is going to be hidden whenever doing this. I'll also apply some of that double-sided adhesive onto my fairy, and I'm just checking again to make sure I'm putting enough on there, but I don't want it to go up over those white clouds in the back there because that's what's going to hide my adhesive on the back side. I will also go ahead and put some double-sided adhesive on my very bottom layer of clouds here, and I don't have to worry about that because that will all be hidden. Now I can start peeling backing paper off and going ahead and putting these onto the card front. So my fairy, I wanted her up a little higher, and her wings are going to extend out over the actual side and over the top just a bit, so I will need to make a special envelope for this, but that's not really a big deal to me. I do have my punch board that you've seen in a previous video, and I will link that below if you want to see how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing paper on there, and it's time to start putting this vellum down now. And I had a little trouble with this layer. Luckily vellum peels off pretty easily if you haven't really stuck it down well. So I can go ahead and mess with this layer a little bit and get it exactly where I want it, and then press that down. And again, this just covers up the bottom of the fairy's feet, but it just adds more interest to the card. My final layer will be this white cloud border, and I will just peel the backing paper off of it and put that down on the very bottom to cover up all that adhesive that shows through on the vellum. Now for my sentiment, I went ahead and pulled out this Easel stamp set. It is the Peonies stamp set. This is one of my favorite for sentiments just because you can put so many together and it's different every time. I went ahead and pulled off this Hello stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and test it out a few times before I bring it to the card front. I should have stamped this before I put that bottom layer on. I didn't think of it, so I will go ahead and risk it and stamp this down, and it turned out okay, so it was a success. But I'll go ahead and press that right down on the bottom left hand corner. Now for the inside of my card, I'm going to go ahead and first put down this vellum layer of clouds, and then I'll put that white layer right on top. And what this does is this is going to hold up that panel in front. So whenever I open this up and I want that to stand up, this is going to help it and not let it fall down. And you'll see this in the pictures as well. So I'll go ahead and remove that backing off of that white layer and place that down right there in front of the vellum piece. And that will complete the inside of the card, and there you can see that tucks right behind that cloud and just helps hold this up and keeps everything in place. So as I said before, one of the stipulations of this card was to either add glitter or sequins. I went ahead and added both, so I'm going to go ahead and add some moonshine sequins. These are from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm adding all three sizes that come in the mixture. And there's a large, medium, and a very small one, and I'm just going to add 5 of these. I'm using glossy accents and my quick sticks tool to put these down, but you want to make sure when you put these down you don't put any on that very tallest vellum layer, because when you stand this up you will be able to see that glue through that layer, and it doesn't look very pretty. So just make sure you keep them all down off of that layer. So I'll just continue to put these on, and this last one is the largest one, and I just tucked that right behind that second vellum layer of clouds just for a little bit more interest. Now for the inside sentiment, I went ahead and put together my darling friend from that Easel stamp set, and I just lined those up one on top of the other, and I'm going to stamp that on the very left hand side of the white cloud in the inside of the card. And then there's an XO, so I will put XOXO right underneath that. And I am using the Simon Says Stamp black dye ink. This is what I've used on the entire card. And with that, this card is finished, and I've got a great easel card ready to go in the mail. Now, as I said before, this is for a blog hop, so if you want to head over to my blog and follow along with the rest of the hop, there are quite a few prizes up for grabs, so you can go check that out over there. As always, I will leave you guys with this close-up and just a few pictures. For more information on the blog hop and the supply list, you can head over to my blog, craftingwellcaffeinated.wordpress.com. The link is in the description box below, as well as that I in the top right hand corner. That will get you there too. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!